Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Please remember to like and subscribe. It takes like 10 seconds to do it. Please go ahead and do that now before we get into the video. Today I wanted to talk about my process for backing up my incubators in the snake room in general, just making sure that everything's working all the time. So basically where this all started was a few years back. I think when I first moved here, I tried to transport like one clutch of eggs in between moving homes, and I didn't have a way to keep the eggs heated while we were moving. So basically what happened was the morning we were closing on our house, I took the eggs in the little incubator I had, I put them in the back of my car or truck, took them to the house closing, closed on the house, and then drove to the new house, and I plugged them in right away. Well, that downtime, the temperature loss actually ended up killing those eggs. So at that point, I decided I need to make sure that when I'm starting to produce more expensive eggs, that this incubator, whichever incubator I have, is running all the time. And that eventually led into me making sure that the snake room itself has power all of the time. The house we moved to, we're in, a residential area, but we're sort of on a main road. We're on the outskirts of Pittsburgh, so there's, and we live kind of on a hilltop, so there's a lot of wind. Power does go out every once in a while, usually once a year. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 or 4 hours. The year after we moved here was like a full day. That can become a problem. I know some of you guys live in rural areas where power can go out for long periods of time. If you have eggs in your incubator and they're without heat and there's no way for you to keep them warm for a day, 2 days, 3 days, those eggs are going to be shot. So I have kind of made a foolproof method of making sure that this thing is always running. It's not cheap, but if I had to spend 5-6 grand to get this setup done, and it saves $50,000 worth of clutches, then it's obviously worth it. Even if it saves $5,000 worth of clutches, it pays for itself the first time it happens. So this is what we have going on. So we have the incubator. Move my trash can out of the way. And it doesn't matter what your incubator is. Now, how big your incubator is going to depend on which battery backup units you get. I have this one from Sea Serpent's Hotbox Incubators, which is my old one I use as a backup. I have the Wilbanks. I think this is the second biggest Wilbanks. Originally, what I did is I bought these EcoFlow battery backups. I think it's the Delta Max, I think is what they're called. They're like 2,000 amp hours. This is an extra battery for it. So like this thing itself, the main unit is about $1,000, and the backup unit is also about $1,000. Now, with no load, it says this is running for up to 100 hours. It's not going to run that long. But I think when I had this by itself and the power did go out, I think it said that it was going to run the incubator for maybe about 10 hours or so. Now, the main purpose for me buying this versus the lower end batteries is because this has a power pass through, where basically whatever's plugged into it in the AC ports will run even when the power's on. So you plug this into the wall, and then you plug the incubator into the back of this, back there where all those wires are. In the incubator, right now, it's running through that battery backup unit. So what happens is, as soon as the power goes out, the power immediately switches over to these battery units, and this will never lose power. So that was very important, that you're not losing any power in any case of any power outages, whether it's a minute or a day. The other nice thing about the EcoFlow brand ones is as long as you have Wi-Fi and they're connected to the internet, you can check these from anywhere. You can be across the United States, and you can see how this is running. You can see, how much battery you have left if the power goes out. And that's all fantastic and well. Now, the issue with these units, which is why I bought these units, which I'll get to next, is that I had an issue with one of those. I don't remember if it was the main unit actually. So what happened was I don't know, I think it was last summer because I bought the Anchor brand this past winter. The power went out. Luckily, I was home because I was able to fix the issue right away. If not, I would have been screwed. The power went out and the unit shut off. This is $2,000 that I spent on these, and the spare batteries do not work by themselves. All they have is the connector to run into the main battery. So it's not even like I could have used that. It just completely shut off. I went to go turn it back on, it immediately shut off. I went to go plug it into a different outlet, it started smoking. So it was completely shot. Luckily, I had a smaller unit that I was using to back up our Wi-Fi in the internet, just so that I had that ability because I work from home. I need to have internet. Plus, it allows me to monitor what's going on here. So I was able to pull that battery back up, plug it into the incubator. And the issue with EcoFlow was that their customer support has to be probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had with customer support. Emailing them took months, and I did not have a resolution. They were giving me like those canned troubleshooting responses. Have you tried turning it on? Have you tried turning it off? Can you take it to a repair facility? Like, no solid responses. Luckily, I found that on the EcoFlow subreddit, there was a lot of people with the same problems, and there was a community manager from EcoFlow that frequented the Reddit subreddit, and he said to DM him directly if somebody had an issue, and he'll make sure to get that ticket through to EcoFlow support. So I DM'd the guy, and literally the next day, they sent me an RMA. They were sending the new unit to me, and they sent that back. This took over a month, probably I think 6 weeks possibly, to get the new unit sent to me, which means that if I didn't have that second unit, I would have been without a battery backup that whole entire time, which to me, if I'm spending $2,000 on this setup, that thing better be working all the time, and you better have the best damn customer support in the world, because it's a battery. It's not a complex machine that it requires a lot of reconfigure. It's a battery. I'm sure it has some crazy circuit board in there, but it's not a full-blown computer, and it shouldn't take that long to repair it. So that left a terrible taste in my mouth. The fact that the power went out one time and that unit died on me, completely bricked, didn't work at all, also scared me. So I know Anchor is a brand that has been extremely reliable. I use their products. I'm sure you guys have used their products as well, whether the battery backups for your phones or just surge protectors or things like that. So that's when I decided to get these Anchor units. Let's see if I can turn the screen on here. And they are the same size. They're the 2,000 amp hour units. They look a little nicer, a little more friendly. Again, the battery backup on top. It's just an extra battery. This is the bottom unit here. It has the wheels so you can wheel it around, which the Anchor or the EcoFlow one does not have. So that's nice because these are extremely heavy units. This also does have the AC power pass-through. So this will run the unit all the time by itself without you having to, basically it'll do an auto failover. If the power goes out, it'll automatically switch the power to the battery, and you don't have to worry about this running out of juice. Now, the downside with this is it doesn't have the Wi-Fi connectivity, and I don't know why they wouldn't have built that into it. It's only Bluetooth. And on top of that, the Bluetooth only works after, like, this is like the pairing button. You have to hit the Bluetooth pairing button, and it does not stay on all the time. and that's the only way to actually get the app connected to the device, which to me is like kind of the crappy design, especially in 2023. I, that's almost the reason I didn't buy it, but because it had American support, an American brand, I figured, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I just need it to work because I don't need it to brick like the EcoFlow stuff did. Now, here's how I have this daisy chained at this point to kind of prevent downtime. So the first thing is my incubator is plugged directly into one of these battery backup units that you would buy for your computer. These basically have such a quick switch over from power outage to battery startup that the incubator basically doesn't turn off. This is plugged into the EcoFlow. The EcoFlow, or no, wait, hold on, I got that backwards. The battery, so the incubator is plugged into the battery backup. This battery backup is plugged into the anchor. The anchor is plugged into the EcoFlow. The reason I did it that way is because the EcoFlow already bricked itself one time. I didn't want that to be the first battery backup that the incubator is plugged into. I wanted to rely on this more. So it goes incubator, small battery, anchor battery, EcoFlow battery. So basically, that thing should probably run for about 2 days off of all of that equipment without needing any sort of intervention. And then once the power comes back on, it'll start recharging the batteries. Everything will be nice and hunky-dory. That thing will never shut down. I will be able to figure out or fix an issue if anything's off that long. Now, I don't know if you want to consider it the third or fourth backup that I have for this, is that I actually had the electricians install a separate panel, and I can actually show that to you. Let me walk over to the mechanical area of the basement here. It's a little dark. We'll get some lights on. Here we go. This is a mess in here. But basically, so this is your circuit breaker. They installed a line up here where this is a kind of a failover unit, and there's just 10 circuits in it, and it just you pick 10 circuits out of the main circuit breaker, you have them bypass through here, and you're able to flip a switch if the power goes out. And they installed, you're not gonna be able to see it, but basically right up here, they installed, going outside the house there, they installed a power outlet that I can plug my gas generator into. So what happens is, if the power does go out, I have 10 circuits on the house, and the snake room is one of them, and I have my fridge and important things like that. I flip that bypass circuit, I plug in my gas generator outside to the house, and I turn that on, and it powers everything else anyways. So even if the power does go out for an extended period of time, I can turn on the gas generator, and it's going to power these up anyways. So that's going to keep these going even longer. So, I when you start getting to the point where I'm at, where you have potential lightning clown pipe clutches or DG clown pipe clutches in there, you need to make sure you're playing it safe and not playing it dumb. You have to make sure that you're backing this stuff up. You don't want your incubator to go down. I would not be relying on water bottles filled with water sitting in the bottom of the incubator to be your backup plan. It's not a good plan. Eventually, those are going to cool off. They're not going to retain heat forever. It's not going to keep that incubator at 90 degrees or 89 degrees or whatever temperature you keep it at. You need to actually be able to supply power to it. I mean, the simplest option would be to buy a gas generator and just be able to run a long power cord from the gas generator to your incubator. That's probably the most feasible option for most people, because a gas generator you can probably get a decent one, a smaller ampage, wattage one for, I don't know, $500, and it's very cheap to refill it with gas, and it just keeps going and going and going. Not everybody has that option, especially if you're in a apartment building or something like that, which is where the battery backup units come into play, because they don't make any noise. They don't require any gasoline, and they just run. So play it safe. Don't make any dumb choices or try to skimp out. I mean, if you're getting to the point where you're spending tens of thousands of dollars on your snakes and your snake equipment, you need to make sure that you have insurance policies built into your incubator as well.